So friends, you must have heard about Google Search Console. It is an extremely important tool that gives you a very clear picture of how your website or your news website in this case is going to be appearing on Google. What is Google seeing and how are different pages across your website behaving on Search Console? While you may have heard about this, let's today try and set up a Google Search Console for your website and also go really in depth about the different things that you can see on Google Search Console. So let's get started. And on my desktop, as you can see, there is a website called diabetesontrack.com that we have created. Now, what I need to do through this website is I want to see what is the current status of this website on Google, right? Whether it is being indexed, whether it is not being indexed. And this is where Google Search Console comes into the picture. Now, you may have already created a sitemap, you may have already submitted the sitemap, and you may be already seeing that your website is appearing on Google. That is all great. But what about how many people are seeing your content? How many people are clicking on it, which is what is your CTR from Google? And getting an idea about what are the pages that are probably not still indexed. This is where Google Search Console becomes extremely important. So for doing this, all you need to do is go to Google and search for Search Console. Important to note, by the way, that Google Search Console is a completely free tool, and this is one of the things that you must set up the moment you get your website up and running. So as you can see here, the first search result itself is Google Search Console tool. So we'll go inside that. Now you will go and click on Start Now. So as you can see, the moment you click on Start Now, it opens your Search Console. If you already have a website, all your websites will be listed here when you click on this left side icon. So as you can see, none of these websites are Diabetes on Track, and this is my new website and I want to ensure that I get this up on Search Console. So I'll go here and I will simply click on Add Property. Now, the moment you click on Add Property, you are presented with two options. One is Add by the domain or add by URL prefix. Now, this is a very important step that you have to really understand, okay? Now, when you're doing adding by domain, what you are basically telling Google is that my website is, now, for example, in this case, diabetesontrack.com, and all the pages and everything that I will create, which I need to track on Google Search Console, will be followed, will have a postfix of this domain name. Right? So this means every domain, everything that we create, right? It could be www.diabetesontrack.com or https diabetesontrack.com, etc. Anything that I create based on this one particular domain, right? Domain is the important word, right? Will be tracked under this one particular property. Now, you may have a case where you have several subdomains, right? So for example, there may be a website which I create specifically for selling, let's say, courses on diabetesontrack.com, which could be courses.diabetesontrack.com. Now, in this case, this is a subdomain. And when you want to track the property of a subdomain, you have to go for a URL prefix. Right? For the sake of this video, and generally when you're starting a new website, you would want to go by domain. So what we will do is we will simply take our domain name here and copy and paste it in the Search Console. So we are going to remove all the protocols, like it says, and all the paths as well. And then we will click on Continue. So it is going to be verifying diabetesontrack.com. Now, this is where things get interesting. It says that I need to verify the domain ownership, right? If just by inputting your URL of the website, right, which is a public property, right? If that URL can, if you just input that into a tool and it could tell you everything about it, that is a problem, right? So now in this case, Google is saying that if you want to access the data or the Search Console related data for this particular website, you have to do what is called a domain ownership check, right? Now there are several ways of doing this ownership check, but the one which is more often that Google has been sending as of now, this is 2024 June, is doing it through a DNS record check, right? So we'll run past the entire process for doing that as well here. So it says select the record type, in this case TXT, so we will continue to keep that. Sign into your domain name provider. So in this case, my domain name provider is Hostinger, and as you can see, I have my domain right here, diabetesontrack.com, and the domain has already been purchased and running through Hostinger. Right, so we'll just go back, and it says copy the TXT record below into the DNS configuration for diabetesontrack.com. Great, so I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to come back to Hostinger. I'm going to go to my domain and click on manage. Now this screen, by the way, will vary depending on who your provider is, right? But by and large, some of these keywords, if you can pick up, you will be able to find your way around. This is very straightforward, very simple. So you click on DNS and name servers, and here you will see the option of managing DNS records. So in essence, what you need to do is go and manage your DNS records. So the type of DNS record that we are adding is TXT, so we'll select TXT. Now for name, it will say that you just have to use @, there is nothing to change, and it is going to ask us to add a text value. So this TXT value is what you have gotten from here, and it says copy the TXT record below into DNS configuration, and that is precisely what we have done. You don't have to change anything at all. You will simply go ahead and click on add the record. Now the DNS record has been created, as you can see in this case, and then you will come back here and click on verify. Now it really depends on various different providers how quickly this ownership verification happens, but in this case you can see Hostinger is extremely fast, and we were able to get this verified literally in a matter of seconds. I did not have to edit the video and make it any faster or anything like that, right? So the property has been added. We can now go to the property and check about it. Now, of course, the moment you add a property, all the data related to that property on Google is not going to appear immediately. It does take some time, right? So for the sake of this video, what we are going to do is, while Diabetes on Track's data gets updated, we will go and check some of the older websites that I have on this account to give you an overview of what all are the different things that you can do on Search Console. So let's get going. We'll again go back to this top left side menu bar that I have, and I'm going to click on this particular property. So the moment you come to any property, you get this overview screen which tells you what has been your performance. Now in this case, it is very obvious for me to see and deduce that the performance has been going down, right? So let's dive slightly deeper into finding out what has been happening. Now, some of this information, of course, you can get from Google Analytics, but you will see that the depth of the information that you get on Search Console is a lot more. The first thing that we will do is we will go into the insights itself, which is the first thing that you see on your screen, what kind of content is already resonating with our readers. So we click on the insights. When we go there, you see that the performance on Google in the past 28 days, that is where the data is coming from, is about 4,964 clicks, which is actually an increment of about 11%. So this last 28 days have not been as bad. It also tells you which content of yours is now picking up, right, as compared to the previous period, which is the second screen. So if you see here, right, there is a 37% click increment trend towards some content that I wrote on bridging, right, where I am bridging base to Ethereum in this case. The other interesting thing that you also get here, an important information, that you also get your top search queries. So what are the queries that are driving this increment of clicks? So you can see bridge base to ETH, or bridge from base to ETH are the kind of queries that are driving this increment of clicks, which also is a good indication for anyone who's creating content for this particular website, that hey, we should be doing a lot more content around something like this, right? And if you see this, the Search Console Insights gives you a lot more information about various other content pieces also, so you're not just limited to one. In fact, it gives you about 15 such top growing content for your website. Now, if you keep scrolling down, you will also see not just the increment or the ones that are getting better, but in general, what have been the most popular content pieces across your website. So if you see in this case, for about last 28 days, this particular post, right, the bridging piece, has got close to about 463 clicks, which means it is my top performer. Right, and similarly, my second best performer is bridging, where I'm bridging from sold to eth, for example. Right now, as you keep scrolling down, you will also find that what are the search queries using which people are coming to your website. Right, so that is the by default one which is selected. So most search queries in this case is the first one, and post that you will see there are some bridging queries, and then there is base, and then another brand name. Right, so again, you can go and check up to about top 50 queries which are driving traffic to your website. Again, these are important because these are the keywords that are bringing traffic to your website. Right, now if you want, you can also just click on this and search by the most trending queries, which are the queries that are on an increment or the ones that are driving more and more traffic of late. Right, so if you see for this particular query, which is bridge from base to eth, my average position is about 4.6, which is fantastic. And that also means that if I work a little bit more on this keyword and I am able to go to, let's say, rank 1 or 2, I will be able to multiply the amount of traffic that is coming to my website, right? So you get to see your average position as well. So this has been a little bit of an insight into the overview of Search Console. So let's keep going on and seeing what more does it give. So it also gives you an information about how many pages of your website have been indexed or not. Right now, a lot of things that you will see actually on the left hand side are already presented in overview. So what we'll do is we will go through the overview screen completely and then see on the left menu whatever little things that are not there in overview. So if you see here in indexing, it gives you a complete report that out of all the pages that I have sent Google, or that the pages that are there on my sitemap, 284 pages have been indexed, 122 pages are not indexed. So let's look at which pages are indexed, which pages are not indexed, and if they're not indexed, why are they not indexed, okay? So you click on full report, and here you actually get a date by date breakup of all the pages that have been indexed and which have not been indexed. So if you see here, there are about 47 pages which have been blocked by robots.txt, which anyway I did not want them to get indexed, so therefore this is working perfectly fine. The next part of it is 404, right? There are several pages which have not been found. Now this is a cause of concern. So what I need to do is, if I just need to find out the number of pages that are being affected by this particular problem, I'm going to click on this. So as you can see, that these are various URLs which are indexed but are not found. Now, of course, if you see the first one, there is a mistake in writing the name itself. So how could it get indexed, right? And therefore it is throwing a 404. Now, if you keep going on, you will keep seeing that there are several pages where a 404 has been encountered, which obviously means my next step will either be to redirect these or to just get rid of these from the sitemap itself, right? So let's go back. Now you see that there are certain pages which are already with redirect. You can see them also. The moment you click here, you will see that this number has not changed. You get a complete list of what are these pages that are not been indexed because they have a redirection. In fact, if you have to send this data very quickly to, let's say, your developer or to anybody in the team, you can simply go ahead and click on export, and you will get an Excel sheet or a Google sheet right out of this, so that the sharing of data is extremely easy. Now let's say you decide that, okay, now this page, for example, should not have been redirected. So you go back into your WordPress or wherever you have made this website in the CMS of your choice, you go ahead and make that change. Now, the moment you have made that change and you want that change to reflect, what you will have to do is come and click on validate the fix. Now, in my case, in this account, I don't have the permission to be validating the fix. Right, but then the moment if you make a change, or if you have made a change, this becomes green. Let me see if I can show you that on another property. Yeah, so as you can see on this property, the validate fix button, for example, is no more gray, it is blue in color. So the moment I make a fix where the 404 error, in my opinion, has at least been corrected, I can come here and click on validate fix, and Google takes its time to validate the fix, and it also sends you an email, right? So that is about how you can go ahead and validate some of these fixes in case you are seeing a problem. Now that's about the indexing piece. Now as you keep scrolling down, you will see that there are some pages again here which are indexed and blocked through robots.txt. So that's for me to check out. I'll keep going back and come back to my overview. So as you can see, my indexing charts are looking reasonably okay. Post that, what I get is the experience chart, right? Now experience, as you would know, that Google is extremely critical when it comes to the kind of user experience that your website is giving to any particular reader, right? So in this case, right here on Search Console itself, Google tells you how are your core web vitals performing, both on mobile as well as on desktop. So we'll go ahead and click on the trend, and we will see that, okay, we are doing a good job here. So on mobile, about 201 URLs that I have are all good URLs. There is no problem. So there is no issue of, let's say, LCP, something that we see very commonly. But if in case you have some poor URLs and you want to dig deeper, what are the URLs that are not doing so good, you can click on open report. You will see the chart come here. Now here in this case, everything is looking good. You can go ahead and click on view data about your pages. So it also tells you that which are the pages that are doing well. So we can go back to core web vitals, right? And now if you will see here on desktop, we did have some problems, right? So if you can see, there were several URLs which were flagged by Google as poor URLs. So I went back, I worked on them, came back, validated my fix. And today, if you can see, the green URLs or the good URLs are back up. So we can go ahead and open the report and we will see all the good URLs. So as you can see here, somewhere around 1st of April, there were 193 bad URLs on which we did the work, and everything has been fixed now. You can go back and just keep checking that more in detail in case that is what you want. Now this is precisely what was happening. There was an INP issue which was taking longer than 500 milliseconds on desktop and about 200 milliseconds on desktop, where it required some improvement. So basically it goes from poor to needs improvement to absolutely perfectly good. Generally what we do is anything that is poor is extremely high priority. It has to be done and taken care of immediately. And if it is needs improvement, it is still in a moderate, part of your sprint, for example. Right, so we'll go back from core web vitals that we have, now that we have a good understanding, we'll go back into our overview. And here you will see certain enhancements also. There are chances that Google tells you that, there are certain enhancements that are possible for your website. You can go ahead and do that. Before we go any further, actually in experience itself, you also get your HTTPS versus non-HTTPS chart. Right, there are still some websites which don't have an HTTPS, so they will get flagged here because that is also an important factor when it comes to your overall SEO performance. Now, another thing that you can do is called URL inspection. So let's say I can open this site, right, and I want to know a particular page. So let's say this URL, and I want to see what has this URL been doing on Google. Has it been indexed? Has it not been indexed? When was the last time it was crawled, etc. So I will just go into URL inspection on the left, and it just selects this URL bar kind of thing, and you will input it. Now it is going to retrieve the data from the indexing. So as you can see that the page is on Google, which is great news. The page has been indexed. It has come from the sitemap. There are several pages which are also referring to this particular page, which is again great. Last time it was crawled was on 13th June. Today we are on 21st June. The crawl is allowed, page fetching is successful, indexation is allowed. Is there any canonical? and everything here is looking great. Now, in case I decide to make a change on this page and there is something which I have added, deleted, or made any kind of structure change, I can come back here and click on request indexing. So this is another very important feature of Search Console, where you can request indexing as well, right? Just by clicking into URL inspection. So now this is pretty much about the URL piece. Let's go into performance and seeing how we are performing on search results. So when you click on search results, it by default shows you what has been happening in the last 3 months. Now in this case, my search type is web, though you can actually check the performance of several images which have been indexed on Google, or videos. If you have several videos on the website, how are they performing on Google? But for now, we'll keep it simple. We'll keep it to web. Now, as you can see in the last 3 months, right, I have got about 22.2 thousand clicks. I've got about 700,000 impressions. My average CTR is about 3.2 and my average position is 15. So it gives you an immediate report card of how your website is performing. Now, of course, if you see for the last 3 months, it looks to be a downward trend. But let's do, for example, last 12 months. So as you can see that between December 2023 till about April 24, right, the website performed really well. So something was working at that time, which is not working right now. Now, in this period of about 12 months, we got about 51,000 clicks. So if you only want to see the trend of the clicks, just uncheck rest of the boxes. So you will see generally the trend of clicks and impressions usually is parallel. However, in case your CTR starts falling, that is where the impression versus clicks ratio is going to get disturbed a little bit. Right, so CTR in essence is basically nothing but, let's say there are 100 people who have come and seen your article or any page that you have listed on Google, right? So 100 people have seen it, but only say 5 people have clicked it, right? So this makes your CTR as 5%, which is number of clicks divided by number of impressions multiplied by 100. Now, ideally, the higher you are in your rankings, higher your CTRs are. Right, so now in this case, if you see my average positioning of the website, now average position, basically it just means that out of all the pages that are listed, so let's say I have 2 pages listed, one is on rank 1 and one is on rank 100, then my average position is going to be 50. Right, so it is not an indication of how many pages are ranking first or how many pages are ranking, let's say somewhere on 30th, 35th, 40th rank, but it is just an indication of what is the average position of your content. So in this case, if you see that my average position is 17.3, and I can also see a trend, right, that somewhere in June, I was close to about 26th. Of late, my average position has improved. So the SEO team has done something right. Okay, so this is a quick way to figure out how your positions are actually growing across, right? So let's go back, let's click back on impressions and clicks. Now, as you scroll down in the last 12 months, you will see that there are queries which have driven the traffic to my website. Again, now this is an extremely important thing because it essentially tells you what is the kind of content that people are finding you for and clicking to come to your website. Now, for example, there'll always be your top queries. If you're doing your marketing well, should be or would be your brand keywords, followed by some of the more search-based terms. So now, for example, if you see this, right, this query has about 4,500 impressions, out of which 279 people have come to the website. But if you see here, the number of impressions are hardly 1,000, but very similar number of people have come to the website, which means that the intent of searching this was therefore much higher because people ended up clicking on the result, and maybe it is also because the ranking was much better. So this gives you a little bit of an insight into what kind of queries are driving traffic to your website. Now, similarly, you also get what are your top performing pages, both by clicks and by impressions. So now here you can see that by clicks, this page is doing very well. But if you see by impressions, which is essentially how many people have discovered me or have seen of me, it is my brand keyword, which is going to be my directing to my homepage, right? So you can order this by clicks or by impressions. You can also see which countries are driving the maximum clicks and impressions. Now, this is extremely important for those who have content which is sensitive to certain geographies, right? We all create a website or have a pet project where we want to get, for example, traffic from Middle East, or you want to get traffic from, say, Southeastern Asia, from Japan, from India, etc. Now, thankfully, in this case, the highest traffic is coming from the United States. You also get an overview of the device breakup. So on desktop, how many clicks are you driving? Mobile, how many clicks are you driving? Interestingly, in our case, which generally does not happen, desktop is driving far more clicks as well as impressions. It also gives you a little bit of the kind of search appearance that you are getting. So for example, how many translated results are coming, if you are getting any product snippets, all of that is visible here. And then of course you get your date wise performance. So for example, on 19th of June, I drove 146 clicks out of about 6,200 impressions. So it just gives you a little bit of, a bird's eye view. Of course, you can go into a lot more depth of this into your analytics, but in case you just want to see how in general SEO has been performing, you can go into search results under performance. Now, post that, you will also get discovery. Now, this is a website which does not, or is not something that, we wanted the content to be ranking in discovery. So the charts are going to be slightly slimmer. But if we see for the last 12 months, there was a period where one of the content pieces that we had written was picked up in discovery. But in about last 12 months, 774 impressions, 20 clicks, and CTR of about 2%. So nothing great on discovery, at least on this website, but again, very similar to your search results, which is basically how everything is going to be stacking up on your Google search. You also get a complete overview of discovery or discover tab rather, in case you want to know how to set up your website for discover. We have a video on that. We will link that in the description. Right. So going forward, let's look at indexing. Now, the indexing piece we have already covered in overview, but if you want, you can do it from this left-hand panel as well. You get how many pages are indexed, why they are not indexed. So there's one thing that I want to show you here, especially about pages that are not indexed. Let's say there are these 18 pages which are crawled, but they have not been indexed. Right now, what can I do about it? So if you see, there is this URL, right? Now this is a page which has been crawled but not indexed. So what I can do is just simply click on this search icon to actually inspect what is happening with this particular URL. So as you can see that this URL is not on Google. It is a part of my sitemaps. It is a part of several referring pages. And so everything here is in essence looking good to me. Right. So what I can do is just go ahead and click on request indexing here. Now here, like I said, I don't have the permission to do it on this account, but if I could just click on request indexing here, it will request an indexation happening for your website, right? So that's on pages and indexing and non-indexing. So you can just go ahead and any of the pages here, if you want to make a change, you can make a change, come back and request the validation of the fix, or you can go ahead and request for indexing as well. Similarly, you can do it for your video pages as well. We don't have too many videos on this website, just 2 of them. The validation has not started for either of them. They're not visible. So I can, if I have a problem and I have validated that fix, I can come back and click on validate fix here. Now going into sitemaps. Now this is the most interesting and the most important one, right? This is where you actually get to submit your sitemap in case you have not submitted it. So let's go back and let's hope if diabetes on track is looking good. Yes. So it looks like diabetes on track is still getting its data. But as you can see here, the moment I have the sitemap ready, and this is, let's assume that we are creating our search console right after making the website itself, you can go ahead and input your sitemap right here and submit it to Google for indexing, right? And what that does is If I go back into this account, it tells you which was the last date of submission of your sitemap. When was it last read? So in this case, it was read 2 days ago, and it was able to discover 297 pages. In case you want to go more in depth of it, just click on this. You will see what are the page indexing, and it goes back into the pages. And then again, you can go ahead, and if there is anything that is looking suspicious to you or something that you want to change, you can either validate the fix or you can go ahead and request for indexing. So that is about sitemaps. You also have the option to do removals here. So if there is any URL which you do not want, or it is an outdated content or content that you think should not be on Google, you can go ahead and make that request here as well. Page experience is something that gives you an overview of how your core web vitals are looking. Now in this case, both my mobile and desktop are looking good. Can click on good, and we'll go back to the page that I have already demonstrated at the start of this video. Going back into core web vitals will give you more of a graphical representation. In the page experience, it tells you whether it is good or it is bad. Core web vital is more about how the URLs are performing in general. You also get your HTTPS report. Again, all of this is easily viewable in your overview itself, so you don't really have to come down. Of course, you have some security and manual actions that if you want, you can take. So there are no issues which are detected. I'm hoping no security issues. Bingo, no security issues either. Legacy tools and reports is basically going into the old webmasters that you may know. We don't need to do that. We also get a very detailed look at what my external links or my backlinks, where are they coming from, how are they performing here, right? So I can see that some of my best internal linked pages are listed here. Some of my external links, the pages which are driving or which are bringing in the backlinks, are also listed here. Some of the websites from where I'm getting these links are here. What is the anchor text related to them, that is also here. So you get an overview of your backlink performance as well here. You can of course then go into settings where you can verify whether you are an owner and what are the associations that you have. Of course, now in this case, I am not a designated owner. I have been given access to the account. But if we go back to diabetes on track, you will see that I am a verified owner. You can associate several services with this property, including your analytics account. So this is where associations, you can see that analytics can also be associated. So you just have to click on associate, and you can pick up the property that you want to link. Now go back into settings. You can get your crawl stats. You can get your robots.txt. When was the date that the property was added? So as you can see, 21st June. I did this right in front of you on 21st of June. So that's on the settings piece. You can of course send a feedback to Google in case there is anything that you have not understood. And of course, there is another way that in case you have not understood anything, you can get an answer to, which is by writing into the comments and letting me know if you have any questions. Till next time, thank you.